Welcome back, welcome back. Well, Iran goes to the polls today to choose the country's next president. It's been a hotly contested election with heated televised debates and huge rallies taking over Tehran. Will Mahmoud Ahmadinejad be able to hold on to his position, or will it be former Prime Minister Mir Hossein Mousavi who wins tomorrow? To find out more, I'm joined now by Dr Alireza Nourizadeh, who is the director of the Center for Arab and Iranian Studies here in London. Let's start with the basic question, if we can. Is it possible there will be a winner other than the current president?
Absolutely. I think all indication tells us that Mr. Mousavi is going to win this election. Also,
really?
We are
as
not
strongly as that?
Yes, we are not 100% sure that he's going to have a landslide victory in the first round, but definitely if the election decided in the second round, then Mr. Mousavi and Ahmadinejad are going to go to the second round, and Mr. Mousavi has got the support of majority of the youth, women in Iran, which they played a major role. I mean, I have to praise them.
And so, as they go forward, the situation I mentioned there about mass rallies and televised debates, it all sounds much more of the people,
That's right,
even democratic, than we would have expected Iran to be.
Well, Sir David, the regime did not start this election to be like this, what we are watching now. They wanted, you know, an election which already the result is known. Mr. Ahmadinejad is going to win for second term. But the people in the street, they were the one who are leading the election now. That's the interesting side of the election. Those students, those youth, those boys and girls who are fed up of this regime and all this suffering, isolation, they came to the street. First of all, they demanded reforms, they demanded changes, and Mr. Mousavi responded to them positively, and Karoubi responded positively. Now they are the one who are taking and today we'll see, they promise they're going to remain in the street, they stay in the street until they know the results.
So that if Mr. Mousavi won and the Supreme Council, Guardian Council, took it away from him, there could almost be a revolution?
Absolutely. We're going to have an uprising tomorrow, Saturday. That's what the people promised. The students, they gave warning to the regime, if there is any intervention to change the result of the election, you'll see us in the street. But this time, we go up to the end.
And these things you've been mentioning, obviously, key issues, the unrest and so on and so forth. How important is the economy in this election?
Well, it was very important at the beginning.
Right.
But then politics, you know, just overshadowed that. Politics came, and freedom of speech, freedom of expression, you know, all of these issues was on the banners of these youngsters in the street of Tehran.
And at the same time, one needs to say that the president, whoever's elected, the current president or the future president, they don't obviously have supreme power, because supreme power is with the supreme leader. That's up there, right. Isn't it?
Yeah. Mr. Khamenei.
Mr. Khamenei. Yeah. I mean, but they still have quite a lot of power,
Absolutely.
But not supreme power.
Absolutely. I think if we compare Mr. Ahmadinejad with Khatami, then we'll know. When Khatami left presidential palace, we enjoyed good relation with all of our Arab neighbors in Persian Gulf, with the European, and we were on sort of understanding even with the American. When Mr. Ahmadinejad came, look what's happening. You know, we almost came under attack. And
so what will be different? What will we see different if Mr. Mousavi carries the day, or the replay if it's less than 50%?
As far as Mr. Mousavi is concerned, I think if we go to the second term and Mr. Mousavi wins, I think he will be more powerful, because twice he fought with Ahmadinejad and he won. And I think we're going to have a new foreign policy. First of all, he will try to mend relations with Europe, with Arab neighbors, and he said he will be ready to talk to American. He wants some of the sanctions to be lifted, then he goes and talks to them.
It's going to be fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir David.
Last week, the Organization of American States, the OAS, voted to lift its ban on Cuba. The country was suspended in 1962 over its incompatible, as they said, adherence to Marxism-Leninism. Now, OAS foreign ministers and ambassadors have come up with a diplomatic compromise which won the backing of the United States as well in the final vote. The ban will be lifted, but Cuba would not be allowed to take its seat until it met requirements on democracy and human rights. Cuba, as you'll have heard, rejected the offer. But is this all in fact a signal that Obama's America is ready to rethink relationships all over Latin America? Well, joining me now from Washington is the US ambassador to the OAS, Hector Morales. Ambassador Morales, welcome. Were you surprised that Cuba rejected this approach, or were you expecting it?
I think Cuba's response is unfortunate because clearly what the countries were saying was that we would like to see an organization that has 35 countries participating. But I think what's also important to underscore is that the 34 countries are not prepared to have two different types of memberships.
But at the same time, what do you think Cuba loses by not becoming part of the OAS, or what would it have gained, do you think? I mean, is it a mistake on their part?
The benefit is for the people of Cuba, so that they can have the same rights, privileges, fundamental freedoms, the opportunity to elect their leaders, the freedom of expression, these fundamental rights that we all enjoy by living in democracies.
Do you think that you can also make progress in terms of other rather anti-American countries like Venezuela? Do you think President Obama can weave his magic there?
Well, I think that we had a very important signal in the Summit of the Americas. The summit took place in April earlier this year. It was a meeting of the 34 democratically elected leaders, and President Obama signaled at that time that he was there to engage with all of the countries, clearly with a view that if those countries also wanted to engage with the United States. But it was a signal of respect, a signal of equity, and also a signal that we all need to assume certain responsibility. So I think that the message that the President was sending, and certainly this is a message that Secretary Clinton has also been underscoring in her trips to the region, that we're prepared to work with countries, but that doesn't mean that we're going to waver on our commitments to democracy and, as I said, the purposes and principles that the hemisphere has fought so hard to achieve at this point.
Given the controversies there have been between South America before President Obama and with the United States, did you sense in your 4 or 5 days in Honduras a change in the attitude? Has the attitude among the doubters about America started to thaw? I mean, has President Obama had that effect already?
Well, I think that the meeting that took place in San Pedro Sula was historic. I think certainly for the lifting of the 1962 sanction, but I think the fact that 34 countries committed to the principles and the purposes of the organization, I think was a very strong signal towards the view of the hemisphere. And the United States was obviously, we were very active in those negotiations, and they were not easy, as you might imagine. But at the end, there was a consensus view, and the consensus view were that these principles are critically important, and that through dialogue and through collaboration, we can reach decisions that I think will be enduring.
One lightning last question, Ambassador. Does all this mean, this thawing with Cuba, does it mean that cigar smokers will be able to buy Cuban cigars in New York and Washington?
I think what we're seeing is we have an engagement, certainly in terms of what we're doing multilaterally through the OAS. There's also been the beginning of an engagement bilaterally, people-to-people links and government-to-government The idea is we hope that this, one, will benefit the people of Cuba, but obviously it has to be in the national interests of the United States. What I would say is the following.
Does that mean yes
There's been
or no?
tremendous progress.
Pardon?
What I'm saying is that there's been tremendous progress, and what we're hoping is that all this progress that is taking place, that hopefully Cuba will catch up with the rest of the countries in the hemisphere.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much. Well,
Sir
that's
David,
it.
thank you very much. It's been an honor to be here with you.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, that's all for this week, alas, but my thanks to all of my guests. Good luck to cigar smokers around the world. We'll see what happens. Join me in 7 days' time for another Frost Over the World.